Hey everyone, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft Legion Alpha video. Today we are finally going to be having a look at the Assassination Rogue, which has only just been put on the Alpha server. So in this video we're going to be explaining from the ground up how it plays as if you've never seen the spec before. Though, I've got to say at the start, it's actually quite similar feeling to the Assassination Rogue that I played in Warlords of Draenor. Not as my main though. Anyway, so we're going to do all of this by first of all going over the core rotation, then expanding it through and looking through all of the abilities, then the talents, and finally we shall have a look at the, if I can just click on it here, the artifact weapons. So, what do you do as a rogue? Well, you're a rogue, you build up combo points, and then you spend those combo points on finishing moves. The main way you get combo points is Mutilate. It costs 45 energy. You attack the target with both weapons, dealing 55,600 physical damage, and that will give you 2 combo points. And then there's also Garrote. 45 energy, 15-second cooldown. You do 164,000 damage over 18 seconds, and it will give you 1 combo point. Additionally, it will silence the target for 3 seconds if you use it from stealth. So you basically just want to be having 100% uptime on Garrote, quite obviously. Now, we get all these combo points. What the balls do we do with them? Well, we always want to have Rupture maintained. Now, Rupture costs 25 energy. It's a finishing move that tears open the target, causing bleed damage. Now, it will last longer per combo point that you spend. So if you spend 5 combo points, it will do 342,000 damage over 24 seconds. You always want to have Rupture up. And then we've got Envenom. This is 35 energy. It costs between 1 and 5 combo points. Now, this will drive your blades in deep, dealing instant nature damage and increasing your poison application chance by 30%. The damage and duration are increased per combo point, so this is quite potent at 5 combo points. Now, you've heard me talk about poisons. I should probably mention what those poisons are. You're able to use 1 lethal poison and 1 non-lethal poison. There are some options, especially when you look into the talents, but here's the main 2 that I'm just going to talk about here. Deadly Poison coats your weapon with a lethal poison that lasts for 1 hour. Each strike has a 50% chance of poisoning the enemy for 46,000 nature damage over 12 seconds. Subsequent poison applications instantly do 5,000 nature damage. Now, if you think about how that interplays with a 5 combo point Envenom buff, and you can see where a lot of the damage from this spec is going to be coming from. We move on to Crippling Poison. You coat your weapons with a non-lethal poison for 1 hour. Each strike has a 50% chance of poisoning the enemy, slowing them by 50% for 12 seconds. Let's just see what it actually plays like. So first of all, I'm just going to go into stealth because it seems like it's the right thing to do. My Mutilate does do more damage in stealth due to one of my talents though, but we'll talk about that later. So I Mutilate. I actually should have Ruptured there, but anyway, or not Rupture, Garrote. We Rupture, and then I'm now at 5 combo points, so I'm going to do an Envenom. Look over where my mouse is. You can see Envenom is, lasts for 6 seconds. You want to have 100% uptime on Venom. So a lot of this spec then turns into 100% uptime on Garrote, 100% uptime on Envenom, 100% uptime on Rupture. That's kind of how you want to play it. There'll be times where you drop some uptime on things, especially when you're doing a YouTube video and talking to people, but that's the general gist of how this plays. Now, there are a few passives which explain what you're seeing on screen here in terms of my energy regeneration. So Venomous Wounds makes you regain 10 energy each time you deal bleed damage to a poisoned target, which is very important. We've also got Thuggy? Is that another word? I don't know. Anyway, each time you deal bleed damage, you have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown on Garrote. Seal Fate means that whenever you critically strike a melee attack that generates combo points, you generate an additional combo point. That's why you will sometimes see Mutilates that are generating 3 combo points. Our Mastery is Potent Poisons. This increases the damage done by your poisons by 67%. Fleet-footed makes you run 15% faster, which is definitely quite nice, and that's pretty much all of your talents that are playing into this. So let's just quickly go through the other abilities on offer. Poisoned Knife, I'll throw one of those out. 40 energy, it will throw a poison-coated knife at the target, dealing 15,000 damage, not that much, and applying your active lethal and non-lethal poison, giving you 1 combo point. Fan of Knives, just spread some knives around within 10 yards, dealing 6,700 damage, and applying your poisons. It also looks quite cool. Shadow Step, you blink behind your target and you get a movement speed increase afterwards. It's very nice. We've got Kidney Shot. This is a finisher which will stun the target for up to 5 seconds. Sorry, 6 seconds. We then have Sprint, causes you to run faster. Then there's Vendetta, which will mark an enemy for death for 20 seconds, increasing damage and the damage that your abilities and melee attacks deal to the target by 30% and making the target visible even if they are invisible or stealth. We've got Evasion. This increases dodge chance by 100% for 10 seconds. Cloak of Shadows, which will remove all harmful spell effects and then cause you to resist harmful spells for 5 seconds. And then there's Feint, which will cause you to take 50% less damage from AoE stuff, but due to a talent, it also decreases my damage from all other sources by a handy little 30%. Then there's Crimson Vial. This will heal you 30% max health over 6 seconds. For the sake of completeness, I'm just going to go through the spell book. So Cheap Shot, this will stun a target for 4 seconds, giving you 2 combo points, but it needs to be used when in stealth. There is Kick, which will interrupt a target. Distract, which will cause an enemy to, to face wherever you distract, which is handy if you are sleuthing around the place. In stealth, Sap does the exact same thing that it does right now, as does Pick Lock and Pickpocket. Vanish will send you right back into stealth. Now, Vanish that can actually basically be a DPS cooldown and also a little bit of utility, which is quite nice. And that's actually pretty much it for the ability, so let's talk some about talents. We start off with Master Poisoner. Increases the damage done by your poisons by 10% and their non-damaging effects by 20%. Basically, the non-damaging stuff is more potent and you do a bit more damage. We've got Elaborate Planning. Your finishing moves grants 20% increased damage done for 4 seconds. That's quite good, and you really do a lot of finishing moves when you're playing as this spec. Especially if you're not using Death from Above all the time because of the energy cost and stuff. But if you're just mutilating like a mad person, envenoming all the time, you'll actually have pretty good uptime of Elaborate Planning. There's then Hemorrhage, so this rips a gushing wound in the target, instantly dealing 12,000 damage and increasing your bleed damage on the target by 30% for 20 seconds, and it will give you 1 combo point. So I'll show you what Hemorrhage looks like. Run up to this target dummy, we'll hemorrhage it. You can see it's now been hemorrhaged. Bleed damage is increased. Of course, bleed damage is something you're always going to want to have up because you're playing the spec wrong if you're not maintaining uptime of that. So, assuming you're good at tracking things, you've got Tell Me When, Weak Auras, something like that, Hemorrhage will likely be a good choice for you. On to the 30 tier, we've got Night Stalker, so when stealthed, you move 20% faster, and your abilities deal 50% more damage. Subterfuge, your abilities requiring stealth can be used 3 seconds after your stealth breaks. That's useful for, if you wanted lots of abilities like, say, your Cheap Shot as an example. We move on to Shadow Focus. Abilities cost 50% less energy while you are stealthed. Onto the 45 tier, Deeper Stratagem. You may now have a maximum of 6 combo points, and your finishers can consume 6 combo points, and then your damaging finishing moves also deal 20% increased damage. We then move on to Anticipation. This is the one which I like because it honestly does make, it just makes the numbers a little bit easier. I also find that if you have things like, say, the passive, I forget the name of it exactly, is it Seal Fate? Yeah, when you've got things like Seal Fate going on, which means there's a little bit of randomness to your combo point generation, I like having that 3 combo point buffer in case you get, 2 Seal Fate procs in a row, and, if you only had 5 combo points, maybe that would lead you to a situation where you're actually losing some of those combo points into the nether. So, Anticipation is quite handy for that. Then there's Vigor. This increases your maximum energy by 50 and your base regen by 10%. Onwards to the 60 tier, Leeching Poison. Coats your weapons with a non-lethal poison for 1 hour that gives you 10% leech, so you will be getting some of your health back whenever you attack things. There's Elusiveness. That's what causes Feint to reduce all damage. Then there's Cheat Death. Fatal attacks take you down to 7% max health, and for 3 seconds afterwards, you take 85% reduced damage. We move on to Thuggy, whatever. Each time you deal bleed damage, you have a 15% chance to reset the cooldown on Garrote. Did I mention that in the ability thing? I probably shouldn't have because it's a talent. And that could be handy for a few different things. As an example, if you wanted to spread Garrote to multiple different targets in an AoE scenario, that would let you do that, which is kind of handy. There's Prey in the Weak. Enemies disabled with Kidney Shot, Cheap Shot, or Sap take 10% increased damage from all sources. And then there's Internal Bleeding. Your Kidney Shot also causes the target to bleed for 30,000 damage per combo point over 12 seconds. Do note, bleed damage. What does bleed damage play into? Bleed damage plays into, where is it? Yeah, there we go. Venomous wounds. You regain 10 energy each time a poison target takes bleed damage. So that is going to give you more energy. So that's pretty cool. We move on to the 90 tier, Agonizing Poison. This is a new poison. It coats your weapon with lethal poison, so it's going to be replacing your deadly poison. That will last for 1 hour. Each strike has a 20% chance, which is a bit lower, of poisoning the enemy, increasing all damage taken from your abilities by 10%, stacking up to 5 times, and lasting 12 seconds. So this is likely a little bit weaker if you're target switching all the time, but like as an example, if you're on a boss, you'll build this up to 5 stacks, you'll maintain it at 5 stacks, and of course, Envenom does increase your chance to apply a poison quite significantly, so you'll have no problem getting your agonizing poison on. There's Alacrity. Your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point, i.e. a 100% chance if you're using them at 5 combo points, to grant a 1% haste buff for 20 seconds, stacking up to 25 times, which is kind of cool. Then there's Blood Sweat. Each time you deal bleed damage, the effect has a 30% chance to spread to an additional nearby target. Now, here's an example. You, using Fan of Knives, have spread your poisons everywhere. You've got internal bleeding, you've got your garrote, maybe with Thuggy, things like that going on. Hemorrhage as an example. If you're able to spread your bleeds around like that, and then have, bleed damage hit other targets which are perhaps poisoned because you spread your poisons to everything, you could get quite a lot of energy regen there in an AoE scenario, which is kind of cool. Anyway, moving on to 100 Venom Rush. Increases energy regen rate by 5% for every enemy you have poisoned, up to a maximum of 3. So that's, I suppose, it increases the speed of the spec, which is fine. Marked for Death. This is a 1 minute cooldown. Marks the enemy instantly, giving you 5 combo points. If the target dies within a minute, its cooldown is reset. And then there's Death from Above. So Death from Above is a finishing move. It consumes combo points to empower your weapons of the shadow energy and perform a devastating 2-part attack. So you whirl around, doing a whole bunch of damage, then you leap down on them, and you cast an Envenom. So it is going to be doing an Envenom, but at 50% more strength. So the reason why I like Death from Above is because Assassination, generally, it's a simple enough spec, right? There's not that much going on with its basic 4 abilities. They've got a good interplay between each other, but it's not crazy. Death from Above, though, adds a little bit more management into the mix because it's got a cooldown and a slightly higher energy cost. So I feel like balancing that can be quite fun. So if I was just to go in here into stealth, attack this target, apply a Rupture, should really garrote it as well, do our Mutilate, and then move into a Death from Above. I just find that that's a bit more of an involved and interesting to play spec that I kind of like. So that's really about it for the core Assassination Rogue gameplay, if I'm honest. It's a simple spec, but I actually find it can be kind of fun because of its pace. I know that a lot of the time when I say a spec is simple, I mean that as a really bad thing, because generally I like the specs that are more involved. A perfect example, actually, is the Subtlety Rogue, which I find to be extremely fun, and because it does have some really cool management elements, but if I'm not raiding, so say I'm just running around in the world, you know what? I kind of like the idea of just being being an assassination rogue, where, it's simple, it's kind of punchy, it's fast-paced because you get a lot of energy regen and a lot of combo point regen because of all the various sort of effects that are going on with their passives. I think they are all really quite cool elements. Now, we also do need to have a look at Kingsbane, which is the active ability of your artifact weapon. 45-second cooldown. Release a lethal poison within the Kingslayers, which is the name of the weapons, and strike your target, dealing 135,000 nature damage and causing them to suffer 182,000 nature damage over 20 seconds. Each time your deadly or wound poison strikes a target affected by Kingsbane, Kingsbane deals an additional 20% damage. So, overall, have lots of Envenom uptime. Use Kingsbane, you'll do pretty well. Let's see what it looks like. Run up to the target here, hit 5 on my keyboard, which is Kingsbane at the minute. And, well, suffice to say, they need to get a new effect for that, but overall, a cool enough ability. As far as major traits go, we've got Bag of Tricks. Whenever you envenom a target, you have a chance to smash a giant vial of poison at their location, creating a pool of acidic death that deals 10% damage to all enemies within it. We've also got Blood of the Assassinated. Rupture has the chance to infect your target with the blood of the assassinated, dealing 60,000 bleed damage over 10 seconds. Hey, it's more bleed damage, meaning more free combo points, assuming your target is poisoned, which they absolutely should be. And then we've got From the Shadows. Whenever you declare your vendetta target, a barrage of poisoned daggers will strike the enemy every 1 second, dealing 24,000 damage, which reminds me, I should really use vendetta, shouldn't I? So, we'll go up to this guy, we'll garrote him, we'll mutilate a little bit, we'll do a rupture, and then we'll do a vendetta, see what that looks like. And as you can see, all these little daggers flying in from the sides, looking pretty cool. So overall, that's really... I think that's pretty much all I want to cover about the Assassination Rogue. It's a simple enough spec, decently enjoyable. It's the kind of spec which, it's got its gameplay style that it fits. If you like that, that's great. As far as rogues go, combat's pretty simple, I'd definitely say. This is pretty simple. Subtlety is really cool. So I suppose if you're playing a rogue, you've got access to a few different specs with sort of different gameplay, different levels of involvement, which is quite nice. Though, of course, if it ends up that Assassination and Outlaw are the most effective ones, and you really enjoy Subtlety because of its complexity, well, you're still not going to be playing Subtlety in a raid, so maybe it won't be the best choice for you. Generally, it's a bit of a tricky situation if you've got a pure DPS class, of which you only like one spec, because there's a high chance that that one spec won't be the one that's currently doing the best performance. Therefore, there's a social pressure to move away from it, and indeed, a pressure because you want to do better in your raid content. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for my coverage of Assassination. If there's any crazy updates later on in the alpha, I will be sure to let you know, but that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.